Good morning. I'm going to let Dave turn the music down. Wasn't that pretty? It's very pretty. Welcome to, this kind of feels like our first service of the new year, doesn't it? Yeah, we had our white stone ceremony, and then we were canceled for ice last week. And today we're going to start our new winter series. So this feels like we are welcoming you to 2022 officially. So welcome to this new year. Welcome to Unity of Palmyra. We're centered in love. We embrace a positive path for spiritual living. We are an open and affirming congregation. We love you exactly as you are. And I'm glad a lot of you got the sweater and jeans memo this morning. It was 7 degrees at my house this morning. Brr, January is here. So welcome to this warm, loving, cozy space this morning. And for those of you joining us out in the ethers, we're having a little trouble with our Facebook Live this morning, so hopefully you're finding us on YouTube, and then our wonderful AV team will upload this to our Facebook page after the service today. So let's get fully present. Oh, wherever we are in this space or in your home or wherever you are connecting with us, I invite you to connect in body and spirit as we put aside anything that isn't now. If you're watching us from home, I invite you to turn everything else off and give yourself the gift of being fully present. As we enter into this time together, this time apart for a while, to remember the truth of who we are, to remember that we are spiritual beings having an incredibly human experience with all that that means, with all the expressions of that spirituality and that humanity. As we enter into the next 7 weeks together, we will be exploring our creative side, how Spirit expresses through us in our unique creative demonstration in the world as we celebrate that creativity. And so taking a nice, big, deep breath, we use the breath to be here now. We breathe into this time and into this space. And as always, we enter into this time with gratitude. As we say, thank you for this opportunity to come apart for a while. Thank you for whatever place you are in right now. And most especially, we say thank you for one another and this journey that we share. And so it is. Amen. Let's stand and sing.
I start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of, is love. I start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of, is love. I choose love, 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 love. I choose love, 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 love. Start my day with peace. when I start my day with peace. I feel that sweet release of peace. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel that sweet relief of peace. I feel peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. I feel it, peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, that thing I do is infused with joy. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. I feel joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. I choose it, joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy. And I feel that sweet release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy. And I feel that sweet release. Tell you with joy. Start my day with peace. I start my day with joy. And I feel that sweet release.
Ah, peace, love, and joy. What a wonderful way to start our day. Let's continue by sharing in our vision together. Centered in love, we embrace a positive path for spiritual living. How many of you have that memorized? Good. Those of you who don't, do that. Yes. And I'll tell you why, as soon as we share in our mission, and I want to know how many of you have that memorized. Together, we provide a welcoming community that inspires and encourages all who gather here through the teaching, sharing, and practice of universal spiritual principles. So why is it important that we have those embodied? Because so we can go forth with them, because we are a mission-centric community. That means regardless of who's up here or over there or in here, what's important is what we stand for, not just in this room, but in the world. Because what we stand for is important, and it's what the world needs, as this week has shown us. So, have a seat. Oh, no, don't have a seat. Have hugs and handshakes. Sorry. Sorry, I was just feeling a little sad there because of some of the stuff that's happened this week. So, you know what this means, you know what this means, and if you want to be left alone, do that.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
You can have a seat. Simon says. Simon says. All right, a couple of announcements. Our prayer chaplains today are Sherry Fries and Lisa Bechtel, and they are both in the sanctuary with us this morning, and they will be over on this side of the sanctuary after the service if anyone would like one-on-one prayer with them. And just a reminder that all of our prayer chaplains hold space for us on Sunday mornings and throughout the week, and they also offer a Facebook prayer service every Wednesday evening, so do avail yourself of that. It's very sweet. We will have coffee and fellowship after the service today. Mastering Life's Energies, the class that I will be starting this week, starts on Thursday, January 20th. If you have not signed up for it yet, please do that. The sign-up is downstairs. And if you are planning on taking the class, which I highly recommend, you do need the book, so please do order the book if you haven't done that yet. Your contribution letters for 2021 are in a box on the information table in the Rose Room. They will be out for 3 weeks. We do ask you to help us save postage and pick up your envelope, and then they will be mailed on the 31st for anyone who has not picked up their envelope before then. We are starting our new series today. It's based on the book called Contemplative Crochet. You do not have to crochet to enjoy the service. Hopefully that was clear in the blurb. It is really all about that, what Cindy calls that interlocking of spirituality and creativity, and I know how creative you all are, so hopefully you will enjoy this, the service. So two things about this series. We have the Rose Room set up with the table in the middle is full of yarn. Thank you, Vicki, for donating yarn. If anybody else has any yarn they want to bring in and share, please feel free to do that. And then the 4 square tables set up around that center table are empty, and they are for you to bring in anything that you have created or will be creating over the next 7 weeks. It does not have to be crocheted or even knitted, although it can be. If you paint, bring it in. If you sculpt, bring it in. If you're a potter, bring it in. We just thought it would be fun for the 7 weeks of this series to see how you create, how your spirit expresses through you. So please do feel free to bring in whatever your creative expression is. And then just a little logistics thing. At the end of every chapter, Cindy has what she calls queries, and I'll talk a little bit more about her spiritual tradition during the talk, but it is part of her Quaker tradition. They're called queries, and they share them in their meetings, and it's just to get you thinking and feeling and contemplating and going within, going into the silence. So every Sunday at noon, you'll be getting an extra little blast, kind of like you do when we have a series where there are study guides, and we're just typing up the queries at the end of every chapter. We're adapting them just a little bit because some of them are pretty crochet specific, which some of us love. But so we're adapting it to any creative expression that these questions should prompt you to go a little bit deeper and to contemplate a little bit your creative expression, how spirit moves through you. So when you see that at noon on Sundays, that's what that is. That's going to be the queries for the week. And I think that's it. Oh, yes. Wait a minute. It isn't it.
It's not it.
Okay.
The basket auction is on noon. We started putting things together. Our dates for the basket auction are going to start March 6th and run through March 27th.
Okay, so everything has to be to you before then.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to type up an email, give it to Jackie to be in the email that goes out Wednesday, so you have all the details and all the specifics.
Okay.
Lisa has graciously volunteered to do the online bidding again.
Yay!
So we're trying to cover all bases, people who can be here, people who can't be here. We're also going to work on the sign-up sheets on what baskets you want to donate. We're getting a sign-up sheet together for if you don't want to put a basket together, but you would like to go out in the community and ask for donations or gift certificates or something from the businesses. We're going to get that together. And if you create stuff, Stephanie crochets, I know Sherry does stained glass. So, and Colleen is going to donate a massage. So if you have services that you provide, that works too. The kind of baskets, maybe you want to put a coffee basket together.
I like the coffee and wine basket because it's the perfect beginning and end to your day. Yeah.
A kid's basket, puzzles, puzzle books, I don't know, anything you can come up with, you can put together. I think we're putting our camper in again for a camping weekend. So just anything, you know, that you can come up with that you want to put together. The baskets will have to be here by February the 27th. And all this information will be out in the email, so
Thank you.
look for that.
Thank you. This is a very fun fundraiser because and it's actually perfect that it's falling right after this series because you can get very creative with these baskets, and we do get very creative with these baskets. So thank you. Right now, is that it? Okay. Helene, would you like to read the daily word?
Rise. I rise in consciousness to help create a world that works for all. Throughout time, there have been people who led lives that changed the world forever. Their words and deeds provided hope and inspiration for those who would carry forth their legacies of love, growth, and evolution long after they left this life. Their most powerful contribution, however, was their ability to inspire others to express their own divine purpose. As more and more people reach their highest potential, the whole of humanity ascends. Today, I honor those who have led lives of service, striving for love, truth, and justice. I take steps not just to commemorate their journeys and contributions, but to embark upon my own. I rise, grateful to contribute all I can to the growth and evolution of humankind. Take action, for it is your duty, and we are with you. Be strong and do it. Ezra 10:4.
I am home, my family is here. I feel loved by the ones I hold so dear. And when my family needs me, I promise to be there. And when I need my family, I'm lifted up in prayer.
So today's daily word is so perfect, not just for the first week of our series, but just for the world today. I know this week the bad news felt a little overwhelming at times. A surge in Omicron and political battles, and of course the standoff at the temple yesterday. And it's so easy to allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by that, to be overwhelmed by everything that seems to be wrong in the world. And yet, today's daily word reminds us that for millennia, we humans have risen above it, have learned and grown and dug down deep to overcome. We don't believe in evil in unity, but to overcome what seems to be the opposite of love. And so today we are going to hold that space, that we are capable of rising above, that we are capable of demonstrating and expressing the best of humanity, even when the worst seems to be prevailing. So let's take a big deep breath. And take a moment to simply breathe together, to connect through our breath, remembering that to breathe is literally to be inspired, that as we breathe together, we inspire one another, we support one another, we help one another rise above. To rise above what sometimes feels to be insurmountable, and yet we know it's not. When we are able to open and calm our minds and open and soften our hearts, we become able to see all the good in the world, all the love in the world, all the compassion in the world, all the generosity in the world. When we allow ourselves to focus on that, it puts what is its opposite in perspective. And we remember that throughout history, love prevails. Goodness and generosity prevail. We look to those that have gone before us, that have shown us how to rise above. We celebrate one such person tomorrow. Despite overwhelming odds, Dr. King showed us how to rise above, to prevail. And so I invite us this morning and every day to challenge ourselves to see beyond the appearances, to see beyond the appearances of ignorance and fear, of rage and lack, to look into one another's hearts, to be willing to see that even in the most desperate of times, love and goodness are there. And so regardless of whatever challenge we are experiencing this morning, whether it be a challenge of prosperity or of health or of relationship or just a feeling of despair, I invite us to claim the opportunity inherent in the challenge. Turns out that embracing a positive path for spiritual living is not for the faint of heart. But it is our vision. It is our calling. It is our journey. and how grateful we are to be on that journey together. So taking another breath together, remembering that together or apart, we are always connected at the heart. For we are a community that does embody the love in the world, the joy, the peace in the world. That is our focus. That is our mission. That is our journey. And so it is. Namaste.
The God in me behold, the God in you. Namaste. The God in me beholds, the God in you. Namaste. You are beautiful. You are whole. You are beautiful. You are whole. Thank you very much. Jody said, check your tuning. You know it's funny, as you go through your life, you dream so many dreams along the way. And it's funny, 'cause sometimes it seems the reality can cost much more than you ever meant to pay. But every so often, a special dream comes true, and you feel your heart just soar up to the sky. And you find it's worth the risk, because it feels so very beautiful to fly. You know it's funny, as you walk through your life, you meet so many people on the way. And it's funny, but so often true, that the ones you thought so special were really not so good for you. But once in a great while, you come across somebody who very simply takes your breath away. And you find it's worth the chance you take, even though you know they may not always stay. You know it's funny, as you move through your life, there's so many lessons offered along the way. And it's funny, but it seems most of the time that the lessons that we just ignore come back to us in time. So as we move through life's changes, we finally have to learn to see the truth in all that life can bring. And we finally have to realize that love's by far the most important thing. Yeah, you finally have to realize that love's by far the most important thing. We have to come to understand, we have to see the truth, 'cause happiness is not that hard to find. You just give your heart to those you love, and let those you love come back to you in kind. Spread love, give love.
That was beautiful. So, welcome to Contemplative Crochet, a hands-on guide for interlocking faith and craft. I'm very grateful to my friend Lori Boyd who recommended this. We share a love of all things crafty. She quilts, she even knits, which I've never been able to accomplish. I can do the one hook, the two needles coordinating, never. It's not going to happen. I've tried. I gave it my best shot. So as soon as Lori recommended this book to me last fall, I ordered it and immediately started reading it. And I got about 2 pages into the introduction and fell in love with the author because she's appears to be the embodiment of what she writes. She appears to be grounded and inspiring and talented and grateful and incredibly creative. And so I'm hoping, whether you crochet or not, it would be worthwhile investing in this and sharing her journey. So I want to just read a little bit from the introduction. I was going to paraphrase it, but she writes it so beautifully. So whenever she's referring to hooking, it's crocheting. I just want to be clear about that. And then Reverend Stephanie said, and if there's any terminology that she shares that you're not familiar with, talk to me after the service, and I'll give you some definitions. So here's what she says in the introduction. With hook in hand, I pause to contemplate the connections of my spirit to my hands to my craft. I am only one person at only one point on a never-ending continuum. As you join me, each of you will be starting in a different place. You may be new to crochet or a veteran crocheter. You may have picked up this book because you already sense a link between the quieting rhythm of crochet and the contemplative quality of spiritual seeking. You may have been reared in a spiritual setting, or you may have chosen a spiritual home for yourself in a new setting as you grew in your understanding of the divine. Maybe you are a lifelong member of your chosen faith community, but are looking for a way to personalize and deepen your spiritual life. Or perhaps you don't feel comfortable with formalized spiritual ideas, but seek a centering practice that will enrich your faith. I learned my first spiritual lessons in a little white Methodist church in a small town in upstate New York. One of the Sunday school stories that touched me most was the story of the Good Samaritan, in which one person went out of his way, both personally and culturally, to help a stranger in need. I got it. This lesson of radical acceptance and radical love would eventually lead me away from my childhood church and onto a new spiritual adventure. I think a lot of us can identify with that. When my young friend Dolly invited me to attend meeting, which is a general term for Quaker worship gatherings, with her and her family, I was introduced to meditative silence as worship. In a Quaker meeting, the silence is broken only by the occasional person speaking a carefully listened for spiritual message. When I started to crochet, I realized that the meditative rhythm of crochet felt akin to attending a silent meeting. Since childhood, I have been drawn to handiwork of all kinds, especially to fiber and the fiber arts. In crochet, I found a range of philosophical and spiritual ties that fit together well for me. I especially value the intimacy of yarn and hands, and I marvel at being able to create beauty or to compassionately warm another person. I have chosen a contemplative faith community. I have chosen a contemplative craft. In contemplative crochet, I have gathered a work basket full of information, stories, and musings that have come from many corners of my life and link crochet and spiritual life in diverse ways. As you read, you will find phrases and ideas that have come from my life as a Quaker, as well as the lessons that crochet itself has taught me. I write from the perspective that everything we do is sacred, as long as it is done mindfully, inviting the sacred into it. Each chapter concludes with a crochet project, some of which serve as simple reminders of a spiritual concept, others as actual tools to incorporate contemplation into your crochet practice. So this little table is going to be where we are going to be putting out and just displaying the 7 projects that we are going to be doing. I'm saying we because there were a couple of us working on these projects throughout the next 7 weeks. So every week you will show up and there will be a new project on the table. And so what we're essentially creating is an altar to our contemplative crochet practice for the next 7 weeks. So in the very first chapter, what she calls Roots and Wings, we're going to be learning the importance of having both. In fact, the subtitle of this chapter is Soaring While Keeping Our Feet on the Ground. So it really is about, it reminded me of an old saying, actually I think I learned this in seminary, that said, we don't want to be so otherworldly that we're no earthly good. Again, the daily word for this morning was absolutely perfect. So the premise of this chapter, this is going to sound weird, but to me it was deceptively simple, because that juxtaposition of being grounded and blissful at the same time, I think takes practice, right? So when I say it was deceptively simple, I think that learning how to do that is really what's at the heart of spiritual practice. So when we're expressing our creativity, it can feel like we are following our bliss, right? But at the same time, we need to have deep roots in order to ground ourselves, in order to practice our craft. So this actually reminded me, when she was talking about this, of musicians. And I'm looking at the musicians in the room. Your music can transport us. It can create a blissful experience for us. It can create a blissful experience for you as you are performing, and yet your craft took years and years and years of study and practice. Those are your roots. So let's look at following our bliss. Think of the last time, you might even want to close your eyes for this, that you were totally in the flow. Just when was that last time when it almost felt like time had stopped? Like you looked at the clock, and the next time you looked at the clock or your watch or your computer, it was hours later. Bring that experience to mind. That experience of when what we're thinking and feeling and doing are so perfectly aligned that what we are creating, whether it's our work, our art, our play, just felt absolutely effortless. That's our bliss. Cindy wrote, Joseph Campbell, the great student and teacher of mythology, believed that each of us is on our true path when we are doing what our deeper selves want and need to do. And he called this following our bliss. And this is the quote. I think he's, well, there are a couple other ones, but he's most known for. This is when he said, if you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you. And the life that you ought to be living is the one you are living. Following your bliss, and don't be afraid. Doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. I don't know if you remember years ago, Bill Moyers did a series, I think it was for PBS, where he interviewed Joseph Campbell on the power of myth. And I know I've shared this before, but it's worth repeating that George Lucas also studied with Joseph Campbell, and that's how he came up with Star Wars. The quintessential hero's journey. So Bill asked Joseph Campbell, he said, how would you advise somebody to tap that spring of eternal life, that bliss that is right there? And Campbell responded, we are having experiences all the time, which may, on occasion, render some little intuition of where your bliss is. Grab it. No one can tell you what it's going to be. You have to learn to recognize your own depth. So that experience of that intuitive flash of, oh, this is my bliss. This is why I'm here. This is what I am meant to be doing. This is what I am meant to be creating. That's what Cindy calls feeling our wings. That experience of being lifted by something greater than ourselves. That's the wings of Roots and Wings. And then she also says, lest our bliss takes us too close to the sun, a reference to the wings melting when we get too close to the sun, we also need to recognize the importance of our roots that keep us grounded. So we do this in many ways. She references cultivating beginner's mind. Always an important practice, whether you're following your bliss or not, but that being willing to always be the beginner, to let go of the need to know, to let go of needing to be the expert, but to be willing to begin anew. It's also about, she doesn't go into this as much, but I have found it to be true. It's also about embracing the so-called mundane aspects of our craft. Whatever our craft is, practice, practice, practice. Sometimes in order to learn a new thing, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. We have to go back to the basics. And she also says it's very important that we acknowledge the source of our inspiration, which would be spirit. And a friend of mine, it was so perfect a couple of weeks ago, shared this little piece from Rumi that I thought was so perfect for today. He says, everything you see has its roots in the unseen world. The forms may change, yet the essence remains the same. How we create is different for each one of us, but the essence of that creativity is the same. He says, every wonderful sight will vanish, every sweet word will fade, but do not be disheartened. The source they come from is eternal and growing, branching out, giving new life and new joy. Why do you weep? For the source is within you, and the whole world is springing up from it. Everything you see has its roots in the unseen world. So Cindy's description of the importance of having deep roots, particularly when she's talking about learning a new stitch or a new pattern, or being brought to our knees by a particularly knotted skein of yarn, reminded me of one of my favorite definitions of humility, and that is that true humility is not to think less of ourselves, but to think of ourselves less. In this regard, it's not taking that knotted tangle of yarn personally. So it's interesting. Recent studies have proven what those of us who knit, crochet, sew, paint, sing, sculpt, whatever, are now proving that there is a meditative aspect to being in that flow. They've specifically done studies on crocheting and knitting. And for those of us, particularly when we're in a very repetitive pattern that are in that, they notice that our brain starts to look like the brain of someone who is in fact meditating. The repetitive nature of it, the focus of it. Now, those of us who practice didn't need a study to prove that, but it's always nice to have validation. So while we have had it proven that crocheting and knitting, and particularly working with textiles, can take us into a meditative state, I have to believe that anytime we're in that flow, anytime that we're creating, we are going into that meditative state, that bliss state of being in the flow. So this is when our deep roots are required, because even though there are absolutely times of joy as we are creating, there are times when what has brought us joy can turn into frustration. For anyone who has whatever your craft is, think about when have you needed to dig deep, to again go back to the basics, to relearn something, to figure something out that you thought you already had mastered. That's when we need to dig down in our roots. That's when we need to ground ourselves in the practice, to not throw up our hands in absolute frustration, to remember that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that the whole world is springing from us through our humanity, through our fallibility, through our impatience, through our mistakes, through our willingness to learn and grow from those mistakes. So I've been crocheting since I was 10 years old. And for the most part, I really like those patterns that are very repetitive. I like to just relax and zone out when I'm crocheting. It is part of that going into that place where I don't have to figure anything out. I see instant gratification. But every now and then, I find a project that challenges me. I find a project where I do have to really focus, where I have to dig deep into my roots. I have to dig deep into my decades of crocheting, where I have to learn a new stitch, or I have to actually pay attention to a pattern. And it's usually when I'm doing one of those where I'm ripping out as much as I'm creating. I see the knitters and the crocheters in the room nodding. This is again where we need to dig down deep. If we don't have those roots, if we don't have that grounding, if we don't have that commitment to our craft, those are the times where we're going to be giving up. Because in those times, it's not relaxing. It may not even be fun. It is definitely humbling. But those projects also contain their own measure of bliss when we stick to it, when we practice our art with persistence and feel incredibly accomplished when that project is completed. So think of your art. You're all artists. You all create something. Think of what it is that you create. Where do you need to dig in deep in order to spread your wings? Where might you be feeling challenged and back to basics with your art? It doesn't mean that it's not your bliss. It just means that you may need to be digging down deep into the ground, humbling yourself by going back to basics and learning a new stitch. So the project for this week are crocheted paperweights. And Cindy actually created them for a friend who was getting married outside, and they needed paperweights to hold down the documents. And so the little one is the actual pattern. It was very teeny tiny. It was the smallest crochet hook I have ever used. And then I got creative, and I also needed to use a bigger crochet hook. And so I made a bigger one. And so that's a great demonstration of both the laciness and the wings, the weight of the paperweight, and the fact that even when you follow a pattern precisely, you can get creative with your art. You can get creative with how spirit is flowing through you. Roots and wings, human and divine. I want to give Cindy the last word this morning. She said, several years ago, I came across Matthew Fox's book, Creativity, Where the Divine and the Human Meet. On reading it, I felt deeply validated in my desires since childhood to make things, to add my own spice to my creations, like to make a bigger paperweight, to garnish as only I could. I felt affirmed about what I have always felt within, in my love and pursuit of crochet. Through the work of my hands, I am aligning myself with the source of the Spirit. I am tapping into a nurturing activity that helps me to hear the quiet voice guiding me and leads me to joy through creativity. I am centered. Matthew Fox expresses it this way: what happens in meditation is what happens in our acts of creativity. We become united with the divine spirit, which is the spirit of creation and creativity. We contemple there. That is, we share a sacred temple with the divine. We call it contemplation or unity or forgetfulness of separation and duality, and then creativity surely flows. Cindy says crochet is hands-on meditation. It is intimate, and with it we can create beauty or we can compassionately warm another person. Meditation and intimacy with God, compassion for others, aren't these the concepts that are taught around the globe as responses to the divine? Through crochet, we can also discover more of who we are and align ourselves with the mystery of crochet creation. We can feel our roots and enjoy our flight. Between the threads of our daily rhythms and realities, our spirits can soar. Let's take that into meditation.
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment here, to a new beginning here. And I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul.
So I invite you to breathe. Breathe deeply, feeling the breath move down all the way through your body, all the way down to your toes and into the earth. We picture the breath forming roots, grounding us, centering us, connecting us with the wisdom and the fertility of the earth. We see those roots digging deep. Anchoring us, supporting us, allowing our branches to spread high and wide. As Spirit bursts forth through us as creative expression. As our roots allow us to take flight. Confident in our return to earth. We spread our wings, we rise above. We allow our spiritual nature to shine through us. We embrace the mystery of creation and our part in it. So I invite you now to go back to the question asked earlier. When was the last time you experienced the bliss of creation? In the way of the Quakers, we allow the silence to speak. When we follow our bliss, doors will open that we did not even know were there. When we spread our wings while firmly rooted, Spirit flows freely through us. Each of us a unique expression of the divine. Mr. Rogers believed that as human beings, our job in life is to help people realize how rare and valuable each one of us really is. That each of us has something that no one else has or ever will have. Something inside that is unique to all time. It's our job to encourage each other to discover that uniqueness and to provide ways of developing its expression. And so we dig deep into our souls. We allow our roots to burrow deep within the earth, deep within our consciousness. So that we may express as only we can do. One with the mystery of creation.
Deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul.
So this is the time of our service where we consciously enter into that flow of giving and receiving that we are always living in. We just pay a little bit more attention to it at this point in our service. So this is where we say, if you are interested in supporting the work of this community and the work that we do in the world, we welcome your contributions. If this service or the work of this community has inspired you in any way, we welcome your contributions, and we are, as always, incredibly grateful for your very generous support of the work of Unity of Palmyra. Thank you.
then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. Raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to more than I can be. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
So if you want to hear more of that, Jody's in another recital next Sunday afternoon. We went to the last one. It was amazing. It was wonderful. Thank you. I think it was so great that this entire service was planned without knowing that the daily word for today is rise. In the business, we call that a God job. All right. So let's stand and share in our unity blessing. Together, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in each and every one of you. Let's sing the peace song. With intention.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, united all are we. surrounds us. The
Love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, all is well. Amen.
Amen.
Go forth this week. Dig down your roots, spread your wings, be that incredible creative expression of spirit that you are. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye, Facebook and YouTube land. We love you.